I'm an intel guy.
Consciousness.
I'm an intel guy. If I called your mother a hooker. If I called your mother a hooker.
Consciousness.
I'm an intel guy.
Consciousness.
I'm an intel guy. If I called your mother a hooker. If I called your mother a hooker.
Consciousness.
I'm an intel guy.
Consciousness.
I'm an intel guy. If I called your mother a hooker. If I called your mother a hooker. I were to call your mother a prostitute. I were to call your mother a prostitute. I were to call your mother a prostitute. 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 Prostitute.
Tell me a story, Papa Lou and Mr. Graves and Nolan. Tell me a story, Papa Lou and Mr. Graves and Nolan. Tell me a story, Papa Lou and Mr. Graves and Nolan. Tell me a story, Papa Lou and Mr. Graves and Nolan. Papa Lou and Papa Lou. Papa Lou.
I'm an intel guy.
Papa Lou and Papa Lou. Papa Lou.
I'm an intel guy.
Papa Lou and Papa Lou. Papa Lou.
I'm an intel guy.
Papa Lou and Papa Lou. Papa Lou.
I'm an intel guy.
We don't know precisely what UFOs are. We don't know precisely what UFOs are. These are transmedium vehicles. That's what they are. That's what they are. These are transmedium vehicles. That's what they are. That's what they are.
I won't sell easily proven fake stories for money. I won't work with the biggest slime ball in UFO land. Scammers, liars, and fraudsters. Scammers, liars, and fraudsters. Scammers, liars, and fraudsters. Scammers, liars, and fraudsters. Go on, take the money and run. Go on, take the money and run. Go on, take the money and run. Go on, take the money and run.
Good afternoon. First, unmanned objects. Second, unidentified aerial objects. Third, unidentified objects. And fourth, phenomenon of unidentified aerial objects. Since I came to office, we've developed unmanned and unidentified aerial objects. That's my job as your President, Commander-in-Chief. Balloon, thank you very much.
Welcome to the Black Vault. On September 18th, 2017, after his departure from the Pentagon and during the production of Unidentified, Lou Elizondo ate a hot dog. Now, he could have had it with mustard or ketchup. We just don't know. So last year I filed a FOIA request and this is what we got. After years of waiting, I finally received a file pertaining to Lou's hot dog. Redacted heavily, of course. We still have a lot to pick apart here, so let's... Oh my fucking God. Lou Elizondo is FaceTiming me.
You son of a bitch. What the fuck do you think you're doing?
Well, Lou, I want to know about that hot dog.
What is this? The sausage vault?
No, it's the Black Vault.
Fine then, but you are not getting any info about my hot dog.
In your pledge, which is pinned to your Twitter, number 7 says, I will always be upfront about my hot dogs.
Look, if you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted, one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Yo, his palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already, mom's spaghetti. He's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking how everybody's joking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, blow. I like big butts and I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny that when a girl walks in with an itty-bitty waist and a round thing in your face, you get sprung, want to pull up tough because you noticed that butt was stuffed. Deep in the jeans she's wearing, I'm hooked and I can't stop staring. Oh, baby, I want to get with you and take your picture. My homeboys tried to warn me, but that butt you got makes me so horny. Did you hear about that bitch-ass Chinese balloon?
Yeah, that was pretty gnarly.
The fucker could have had nukes on it.
Don't say that, man.
Why? It's a free country.
Because it's bad luck.
Do you think Chupacabra will put the Chinese balloon on the timeline?
What the fuck is a Chupacabra?
You don't know Chupacabra?
Nope, please enlighten me.
Never mind. It's a long story.
I have all day, Luis.
I'll tell you everything once we get off this fucking boat.
Sure thing, buddy.
It's clear to me now that Lou Elizondo is deceiving and manipulating the community. I mean, 100%. He admitted to that on our interview Friday by using sock puppet accounts to manipulate and deceive us. Which, I mean, so how can you trust someone who is going to go and create a secret account? Not only just create a secret account and post on it, but he creates these in groups and out groups of people who are in on the secret, and then he, shares this special knowledge with them and really gets them to go out and attack his critics. We can't see what the tweets that he posted under these sock puppets anymore because they've been deleted. But, he made it seem like on the interview that he was just responding to people who are doing personal attacks on his family. That's a load of BS. There wasn't really any attacks on his family before this whole Who's Lou documentary started. And that was after he deleted his sock puppet account. He was using that account to attack people like Mick West and Stephen Greenstreet and, rile people up and sow division. And to what end is really my question now. Why he says that his audience isn't UFO Twitter. If his audience isn't UFO Twitter, why does he have multiple sock puppet accounts engaging with UFO Twitter and doing all of this nonsense? Like it just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm at a loss, really.
It's about truth. It's about disclosure. It's about transparency. And if it means that I don't get my day in the spotlight, then that's okay, because it's not about that. It never was about that. I didn't leave the Department of Defense because I wanted my day in the spotlight. I left the Department of Defense, ironically enough, to finish the very mission they gave me in the first place. I didn't ask for it. I'm not a UFO guy. I'm not a ufologist. I never have been. I never will be. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. And it just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. But I'm not a UFO guy. And so for me, it's all about the truth. Whether I'm hunting a terrorist or a spy or a UFO, the bottom line is the truth is the truth. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. And it just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. The bottom line is the truth is the truth. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. And it just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. The bottom line is the truth is the truth. It just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. The bottom line is the truth is the truth. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. The bottom line is the truth is the truth. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. The bottom line is the truth is the truth. It just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. The bottom line is the truth is the truth.
The Central Intelligence Agency is set up to deceive. That's what their job is, in fact. Counterintelligence, Lou, counterintelligence means I have to lie. That's my job. So what is counterintelligence? What are some of the methods? That's something that the UFO field could study instead of people going off about, did Lou make a comment? That doesn't go anywhere. What is that going to do for you? Who cares about Lou Elizondo ultimately, except as a pawn of the CIA threat motion? Otherwise, it's just drivel, right? So, and how, it could be anybody. They could have gotten someone else instead in that program and dressed them up for the part. I don't think, it's not a special kind of assignment that they got for Lou. I just think that he kind of fit what they were doing, and they felt this is a guy who can pull it off. He's done a lot of counterintelligence. But I think what's important is, what is counterintelligence? Just in a nutshell, I need to deceive another country about what my activities are, militarily, espionage-wise, etc. And I need them to believe that something is happening that's totally different from what is actually happening. So I need to create a counter narrative to the truth. That's counterintelligence. I need to lie to get people to believe. So therefore, Elizondo has a lot of experience. He's a professional liar. That's just a fact. And you know, expecting the truth from people like that, or the Central Intelligence Agency, counterintelligence agents in general, is craziness. Whoever thought of such a thing? And you know, so the way they've rolled it out and packaged it up and put a lot of money behind it and the media behind it, yes. But you know, I think we've come past a phase, like, you know, we are all kind of graduating in our own awareness, and this is pretty obvious, you know. So this one is getting pretty wobbly.
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. Today is not a good day to belong to a UFO cult or the UAP false cult narrative. Interestingly, apparently, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, while giving a public appearance, recently made some interesting comments. So this is what we'll be discussing tonight. But I think that there is more here to unpack, and we will do our very best in trying to unpack that tonight. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate all of you, whether you're chatting in our Rumble chat, our Twitch chat, our Instagram live chat, our Twitter feed chat, Facebook live feed, or YouTube. Welcome, one and all. We've already got a great attendance. So I'm going to begin tonight by first discussing the rise of false media narratives, because all of this Lou Elizondo garbage fest UAP nonsense all began with this New York Times article, which has been proven to be completely and totally inaccurate, false reporting. And in fact, there is now a movement among those more skeptical journalists that covered this entire story correctly to contact the New York Times and sort of force them to correct the record, make retractions, do whatever is necessary. The article, with most of its factual inaccuracies, is still on their website. They haven't retracted anything. They haven't changed anything, despite it being proven that that article was just completely and totally filled with nonsense and fake facts. But this is no surprise, because the person who wrote, largely responsible for this article, Leslie Keene, is not a journalist. She is what is known as an activist, and admitted that she carefully crafted the story, leaving out certain details of the story to add more credibility to the UFO or UAP side of the story. And here is where we first learn of Mr. Lou Elizondo, who claimed to be part of a $22 million funded UFO program. And it turns out he wasn't. It wasn't a real program. So we now have this stunning situation, and I'm a student of history. I'm fairly well versed in UFO history and mythology, fairly well read. I have never seen anything like this before, and it seems that what has happened today has been largely missed by most people who haven't really connected these dots, but yet they're all right there, right in front of us. And here is where it gets interesting. So what we have today is that a real and verifiable Pentagon UFO program director, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, or I should say former, he's recently retired, basically coming out and calling bull on a great number of the claims of the fake Pentagon UFO program director. Remember, Lou Elizondo never ran a real Pentagon UFO program. It wasn't funded. It wasn't part of his official job duties. He had no funding. He had no employees. He had no office space. He had no files. He claimed to run this program for 10 years. Do you know there would be a mountain of paperwork that would barely fit in this room if that man really ran the government's UFO program for 10 years? Because that would mean that all UFO reports for a 10-year period from all of branches of the government would come to him, right? So there'd be mountains of paperwork. There is none. And the government found his service at the Pentagon so unimportant that they deleted all of his emails, meaning that none of his emails had any historical significance or importance. They just deleted all of his emails. Do you know why? Because he didn't run a Pentagon UFO program. He was basically a pencil pusher at the Pentagon, an office, the guy, he piloted a desk. That was his responsibility. And his job had nothing to do with UFOs. So we're in a situation now where we have this amazing thing happening that I think a lot of people are missing. And I'm going to say it one more time. We have a real and verifiable, he really did run a Pentagon UFO program that was called Arrow, basically coming out now as a private citizen and calling bull on many of the claims of the fake Pentagon UFO program director. That would be Lou Elizondo and the so-called ATIP program. I think that's amazing that we have a real Pentagon UFO program director essentially calling bullshit on the fake Pentagon UFO program director. Now, I'm sure all the true believers will do whatever they need to do to cope with this newfound revelation, but I'm going to just say it one more time. A real and verified UFO program director has called bullshit on a great many of the claims of Lou Elizondo, the fake UFO program, Pentagon UFO program director. I think that's incredible. I think that's absolutely incredible. And all of this, this deception and manipulation of available information, it all seems to have served the financial best interests of a few people, including Lou Elizondo. These videos, these three, which I, at the time they came out, thought they were worthless, and I still think they're worthless. These three videos are worthless. They do nothing. They prove nothing. And in fact, in at least two of the three videos are completely and totally debunked, not what they were claimed to be. Now, people could dance around and say, well, he never said they were alien. Oh, no, just heavily implied, right? Everybody heavily implied that this was these were some extraordinary, mysterious craft that defied the laws of physics and all this other wrong, fake facts that they use to sell this nonsensical, false narrative. So all of this begins with this New York Times article, which we now know 100% verifiably true was a false narrative. And, the rise of false media narratives is a somewhat recent development in the American media landscape. And let's be clear, the Lou Elizondo TTSA whole narrative was a false narrative based on false, fake information, fake facts, half-truths, careful deception of available data, and more. False media narratives are often fueled by profit or agenda-driven individuals and reporting or sensationalism. And false narratives have become ubiquitous in today's media landscape. From politically motivated misinformation to fabricated scandals, these narratives can have profound implications for public opinion and policymaking. Case studies such as the Pizzagate conspiracy theory and the dissemination of doctored images during geopolitical conflicts underscore the ease with which false narratives can spread across digital platforms, amplifying societal divisions and eroding trust in credible sources of information. Then, of course, there is clickbait sensationalism. Let's be clear. The New York Times article, the Pentagon had a secret $22 million UFO program. Well, that's clickbait sensationalism. And clickbait sensationalism, characterized by attention-grabbing headlines and provocative content designed to generate clicks and views, represents another facet of the misinformation ecosystem. So let's be clear, Leslie Kean, Lou Elizondo, and many others, all the TTSA gang, that was all disinformation, misinformation, false information. And one can speculate it was all designed so that certain people could profit from what has been described as a techno investment scam. While clickbait tactics may drive traffic to websites and increase ad revenue for podcasters and content creators, as well as even larger media companies, they often prioritize engagement metrics over journalistic integrity. As a result, sensationalized stories and misleading headlines proliferate the current media landscape, contributing to the dissemination of false information and fostering a culture of shallow, click-driven media consumption. Then there is, of course, the danger of unverified claims. We need to keep in mind with this completely and totally false New York Times article, it was on the front page of the New York Times, which is perhaps one of the most well-respected newspapers in the entire United States, if not the world. Central to the proliferation of false media narratives and clickbait sensationalism is the danger of unverified claims being disseminated without adequate evidence or investigation. And we see a perfect example of clickbait sensationalism and unverified claims in this New York Times article, which described Lou Elizondo as having run a secret UFO Pentagon program for 10 years. Turns out that was all false. He had no assigned job responsibilities around UFOs. Essentially, UFOs were his hobby while he was working in completely unrelated areas at the Pentagon, sitting at a desk. So, also defined by rapid circulation of information, the pressure to be the first to break the story often outweighs the imperative to verify its accuracy. This phenomenon is exacerbated by the prevalence of social media and sometimes shoddy journalism. And it has led to instances where baseless rumors and unfounded claims gain traction before being debunked, causing inseparable harm to individuals and institutions alike. How many years? It took years for this New York Times article to be proven false. So we always have to be very careful about the dissemination of unverified claims and what I would just call garbage journalism. And Leslie Kean, let's be clear, she's a garbage journalist. She also writes about, spirit mediums and ectoplasm all being real. In other words, she's a wackadoo. All right. So there are ways, of course, to combat misinformation. Addressing the scourge of false media narratives and clickbait sensationalism requires a concerted effort from media organizations, technology companies, and most importantly, individual consumers of that media. Media literacy programs aimed at teaching critical thinking skills and discernment can empower individuals to navigate the current digital landscape with skepticism and scrutiny. Additionally, platforms should prioritize algorithmic transparency and accountability to mitigate the spread of misinformation and false claims. Finally, journalists and media professionals must adhere to a rigorous ethical standards, prioritizing accuracy and integrity over sensationalism and speed. So the proliferation of false media narratives, like this false New York Times article calling Lou Elizondo the director of a Pentagon UFO program that never existed, the proliferation of these false media narratives and clickbait sensationalism poses a significant threat to the integrity of information dissemination in this new digital age. By recognizing the dangers of unverified claims and prioritizing responsible journalism, we can mitigate the spread of misinformation, false claims, and safeguard the public's trust in media. In an era defined by unprecedented access to information, the imperative to uphold journalistic integrity has never been greater. It is incumbent upon media organizations, journalists, technology companies, and hosts of content creators to work together in combating the effects of false narratives and sensationalized content, ensuring that truth and accuracy will prevail. So, interestingly, what we have here is a situation of a false narrative mixed, in my opinion, with a profit-driven motive. There's a reason that people put disinformation forward, and you have to follow the money. As in the case of Grush, and I love how people still want to argue with me because they can't do first grade math. So I'm going to say it one more time. The entire Grush false narrative, the evidence-free claims of David Grush, generated hundreds of thousands of dollars of monetized views. Now, to you stupid people who want to argue with me, I'm so sick of arguing with people who can't do first grade math that I'm going to do it. I'm going to compile a spreadsheet. We'll add up all of News Nation's views, monetized views, Ross Coulthart, Joe Rogan, Yes Theory, Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, everybody who was jumping in to get their piece of the money, Bryce Zabel, the need to know loser, all of any video, monetized video or podcast on Dave Grush I could find, I'm going to put them on a spreadsheet, and then we'll show you that I'm entirely 100% accurate when I say hundreds of thousands of dollars in monetized revenue has been generated from David Grush's completely and totally evidence-free claims for almost a year now. But it gets better, because I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this New York Times article and Lou Elizondo's false claims and TTSA's false claims also generated hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of monetized ad revenue. So, you know, we're in this situation where people go, well, why would these people lie like this? Well, I don't know, but I can think of a few 100,000 reasons why people may play fast and loose with the facts or carefully manipulate the available information and sort of craft the illusion of a true story. We've talked about this before. So there is also the profit-driven motive, of course, because the fascination with unidentified flying objects, UFOs or UAPs, and claims of extraterrestrial visitation has captivated the public imagination for decades. However, the proliferation of these sensationalized stories alleging encounters with alien spacecraft often lacks substantial or supportive evidence, raising questions about the profit-driven motives of those promoting such narratives. And in each of these cases, we can see if we follow the money. Lou Elizondo leaves the Pentagon, claims to be the director of a UFO program that never existed, and then immediately cashes in on that completely and totally false claim with TTSA, gets a TV show deal and more. Now he's got a book deal, public speaking fees at UFO conferences and more. There is a profit-driven motive for many of these people, in my opinion, to profit from their false claims. They have a motive to make these false claims. So there are profit-driven motives to those that are promoting these false narratives. There is an intersection of UFO claims, profit incentives, and the death, in my opinion, of empirical evidence. And this, my friends, sheds light on the potential dangers of sensationalism in perpetuating these unfounded beliefs and unproven claims, exploiting public curiosity for financial gain. And let's be clear, that's what these people are doing. They are exploiting the public's interest in this topic for their own personal financial gain. And we can prove that. The money bears out that I am correct in that assertion. So, my friends, the allure of UFOs and the possibility of extraterrestrial life has fueled a thriving industry of books, documentaries, podcasts, YouTube shows, hey, I'm guilty of that myself, and media coverage devoted to exploring alleged encounters with alien spacecraft. And while some of these narratives certainly are grounded in at least some form of scientific inquiry and rigorous investigation, most others rely on little or no evidence, capitalizing on sensationalism to capture the public's attention and, most importantly, generate profit. In this in this media landscape, we really need to interrogate the profit-driven motives behind UFO claims devoid of real evidence and examine the ethical implications of exploiting the public's curiosity for one's own personal or financial gain. Central to the proliferation of UFO narratives devoid of substantive evidence is the profit motive that underpins much, or in my opinion, almost all of the so-called UFO industry or UFO business. Believe it or not, yes, UFOs is a business, a big business. Sellers of sensationalized stories alleging encounters with alien spacecraft stand to profit handsomely from book sales, speaking engagements, and media appearances. As such, there exists a powerful incentive for these people to prioritize engaging storytelling over empirical rigor, leading to the propagation of unsubstantiated claims and the exploitation of the public's curiosity for financial gain. Despite decades of anecdotal accounts and alleged sightings, the UFO phenomenon remains shrouded in ambiguity, with little concrete evidence to support claims of extraterrestrial visitation. And while some incidents do defy easy explanation and do warrant further scientific investigation, the vast majority of UFO encounters lack verifiable evidence or data, relying instead on eyewitness testimony, photographic anomalies, and hearsay. In the absence of real evidence, sensational narratives alleging encounters with alien spacecraft risk perpetuating unfounded beliefs and distorting public perceptions about what's really happening with the UFO phenomenon. The people selling these stories, by prioritizing profit over empirical evidence, the sellers of those stories, and I always say this, it's very important to keep in mind, these people are not telling stories, they are selling stories. We always need to keep that in mind. They're not telling the story, they're selling it. The sellers of sensational UFO stories perpetuate a culture of pseudoscience and conspiracy thinking, eroding public trust in legitimate scientific inquiry. Moreover, the propagation of unsubstantiated claims can have real-world consequences, fueling paranoia, stigmatizing mental health disorders, and diverting resources away from more pressing scientific endeavors. As such, there exists a moral imperative to critically evaluate these UFO narratives and hold purveyors of sensationalism accountable for their claims. The intersection of profit-driven motives, sensationalism, and the lack of real evidence in many UFO narratives underscores the need for critical scrutiny and ethical accountability within the so-called UFO business. By interrogating the profit incentives behind sensational stories alleging encounters with alien spacecraft and demanding evidence in the evaluation of UFO claims, we can mitigate the proliferation of unfounded beliefs and safeguard public discourse from exploitation. In an era defined by rampant misinformation and pseudoscience narratives, it is incumbent upon scholars, journalists, and the public alike to uphold the principles of evidence-based inquiry and skepticism, ensuring that truth and reason prevail in our exploration of the unknown. So, I really think that there really is this intersection between sensationalism and the profit-driven motive. These two things are linked, in my opinion. And, I get it occasionally. I get an email or a message from somebody and say, I really like that person. I don't really want to believe that they're just lying for money. Well, you have to go where the evidence leads you. And if that's where the evidence leads you, then that's where you're at. And to deny that because you liked some, spooky stories that somebody was telling you, selling you, I'm sorry, but the evidence at the end of the day, even if there's a saying, a very popular saying, 3 things cannot long be hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. So these people can carefully craft their deceptive narratives to fool the public. Let's be clear. That's what Lou Elizondo did. That's what TTSA did, in my opinion. That's what Leslie Kean did in this original New York Times article. At some point you have to say, maybe they did just have a profit-driven motive. Maybe they were just looking for fame or money or whatever. And, in the case of Lou Elizondo, did anybody know his name before he was in the New York Times article? I mean, I'm sure people who knew him personally, but I mean, the public at large, nobody knew who he was. Suddenly he's in this New York Times article making completely and totally provably false claims. And then he later goes and profits from those completely and totally false claims, both with TTSA, who may have misrepresented Mr. Elizondo's resume to their investors. That's going to be a problem for them with the Securities and Exchange Commission, or so I hear, as well as promising investors of that organization he was part of a spaceship with a revolutionary power source that would change the world. That's also misrepresenting facts to potential investors. Again, that's going to be a problem for them with the SEC, or at least I hear it should be. These are the facts. And the facts are that you can directly trace people making false claims to the money they make doing it. And I've observed this for quite some time. And I know people think I'm cynical or too critical. I try to be fair, but sometimes you just got to call a spade a spade. And in this case, I truly believe, in my opinion, Lou Elizondo completely and totally misrepresented his resume to profit. That's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. So we're going to get right in, however, to what happened with this appearance. Sean Kirkpatrick talked about the 3 videos that Lou Elizondo got out of the Pentagon. And by the way, before I forget, I want to post some images. I'm a terrible show host. Today was one of those days. You ever have one of those days you just don't get some things done? You don't get them off your list. So let me do that right now while we once again welcome into live chat. I want to remind you, if you haven't already, please do follow me on Twitter at Stephen Cambion. You can keep up with all the latest of what we're up to on Twitter. I post the shows daily. Sometimes we're a little behind in things, so I apologize. I have some information on this to share, which I think is extremely important. And, I don't know, today I was just blown away hearing Kirkpatrick essentially just destroy the false narrative that was built by Lou Elizondo and TTSA and others. This false narrative of this fake UFO program director and these 3 videos and how, they were so important and so historic. No, they weren't. They were worthless. And it was interesting. It's been interesting to see this come crashing down. But it's a little sad that it took from till 2017 to 2024 for us to finally know the truth that all of this 2017 Lou Elizondo, it was all one big false narrative. And when you also account for the fact that the Rush narrative is just a continuation of that false narrative, we're left with a pretty huge false narrative. And I understand that some people are still reeling and trying to do the mental gymnastics to recover from the shocking revelation that you've been lied to for many years now. And the people were not honest about their intentions. I believe their intentions were nothing more than money. And I'm entitled to my opinion. But let's get into the actual, there's video of Sean Kirkpatrick. And what's interesting is that in this talk he gave, he destroys those 3 videos. Nimitz, we have no data. Go fast. He supports NASA's calculations. It wasn't going fast. Gimbal, that was a sensor artifact. And isn't it interesting that 2 of the 3 videos are exactly what Mick West said they were? Yet Mick West gets so much hate and venom and vitriol. People are literally throwing death threats at that guy on the internet because he is destroying the false information that the Grift Squad is putting out. And I think it's interesting that the government is agreeing with Mick West, right? That, well, maybe they're all CIA, right? I see the coping going on. And, I just want to make sure that I put on the record, I don't automatically trust the government with things that they tell me. And in fact, I'm very distrustful of them. But in this specific circumstance, I did a lot of background checking into Sean Kirkpatrick, And, you know, they're doing anything they can to attack this guy. And by the way, take a moment to think about what this Kirkpatrick did. Single-handedly, he destroyed the whole Lou Elizondo ran a Pentagon UFO program lie. Now he's destroying this entire narrative that those 3 videos are alien or anything mysterious. No, they're not. So essentially, this Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, who, again, is a real Pentagon UFO program director, not a fake one like Lou Elizondo, he is single-handedly, with just a few public statements, completely destroyed Lou Elizondo's false narrative, TTSA's false narrative, Leslie Kean's false narrative, Ross Coulthard's false narrative, George Knapp's false narratives, Jeremy Corbell's false narratives. One guy against the whole grift squad makes a few public statements and completely and totally destroys the entire false narrative that we've all been told since 2017. It all falls apart. So with that being said, is there any wonder why the UFO Kool-Aid drinking cult member true believers are attacking Kirkpatrick, threatening his life, calling him a criminal, and making all kinds of allegations? Oh, he's arrogant. Nobody liked working with him. All, by the way, evidence-free claims. Completely and totally evidence-free claims. People are just saying things, right? I think it's great. And by the way, I always weigh the evidence. And on this side, we have Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, who has not been caught lying to us yet, to my knowledge, who has not been caught selling completely and totally fake stories for money, who has not been caught borrowing videos out of the Pentagon so he could get a TV show deal or a book deal or lucrative speaking fee engagements. In other words, this man's integrity is really not in question until we see evidence to question his integrity. And who do we have on this side? Lou Elizondo, who lied about running a Pentagon UFO program, lied to investors of TTSA, right? They're going to build a spaceship, lied about these videos, lied about it going fast. Lie. Lou lies a lotto, right? And then we got Jeremy Corbell, who keeps getting caught selling completely and totally fake stories. Same for George Knapp. Then we've got Ross Coulthard, who has sold at least 5 completely and totally provably fake stories in the past 5 years. Then we've got their ass-licking underlings, like Matt from the Good Propaganda Show, who licks all their assholes and tells them what heroes they are, accusing Kirkpatrick of all kinds of things, right? And I don't know. Like, to me, when you weigh the evidence, right, these people, Kirkpatrick, I don't really have a reason to think he's being dishonest yet. I haven't seen any evidence that he's been dishonest. I haven't seen any evidence that he's, trying to get book deals and TV show deals and speaking fee engagements and documentary deals based on his work on UFOs in the Pentagon. And meanwhile, we have this side, who they never saw a UFO dollar. They didn't try to grab. The people that are all perpetuating this false narrative and these evidence-free fake UFO and alien stories are all there for every goddamn dollar they can. We can see their greed. So I think when you weigh the evidence, hey, crucify me. And by the way, if I'm wrong, I will admit I was wrong and apologize. But based on all available evidence, yeah, I think Kirkpatrick is telling the truth. And this has all been one big money grab operation by a bunch of profit-driven UFO grifters. So Kirkpatrick not only did, in the Era report, did he destroy the false narrative that Lou Elizondo ran an official or Pentagon-funded UFO program. He destroyed that false narrative. Now and by the way, some of this was in the report, but it's a different thing when you hear him actually speak, Kirkpatrick, and basically call bullshit on many of the claims that Lou Elizondo and his TTSA buddies made while they were soliciting millions of dollars in investment capital from stupid UFO fans. So we're going to put my fair use banner up. We're going to get into this. This is a transformative work. We are educating the public. And this is Sean Kirkpatrick talking about the 2004 Tic Tac Nimitz encounters and the other 2 U.S. Navy videos. Somebody commented that his eyes are purple in this, kind of like Dune. Weird.
To those particular cases,
Well,
incidents.
I can't tell you what the status is today. I can tell you where I left it when I left. I testified multiple times on the fact that Tic Tac. There's some great eyewitness accounts of what is described as the Tic Tac. What was lacking is data, right? So I worked with one.
No data. Wait, what about all the UFO grifters who told us that the Men in Black came and stole the radar tapes and all the data immediately after the event happened? What about that? Oh, we're going to find out.
The pilots to try to tease out a little bit more of what exactly was it that we were potentially witnessing, and by the descriptions of everything from water disturbance to motion, relative motion, and how you can maybe see what you're seeing. Unfortunately, what's going to happen is, I think that one, my opinion is that one is going to remain unresolved.
Yeah, and it's interesting, in my opinion as well, that case will not be solved because there is just not enough data there to solve it. And a lot of different reports, conflicting eyewitness reports as well. So in my opinion, I think that he is correct. They're not going to solve that one. But the other 2 are solved. So, hey, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Because there is no data. There is no radar data. Allegations of, the secret black helicopter that came and picked up the tapes. None of that happened.
Oh, wait a minute. We were told that the Men in Black came in a secret black helicopter and they confiscated all the data from that sighting. Kirkpatrick says that didn't happen. But it's interesting, he has an even better explanation for why that didn't happen and what happened to that data. Remember, people were making all kinds of claims. This thing went from an altitude of 0 to 80,000 feet in 1 second, or whatever it was. This thing defied the laws of physics. All that stuff could be proven or disproven if we had the data. Unfortunately, we don't have the data. And I get it. People want to take the word of some of these eyewitnesses, including pilots, claiming that, they're trained observers. Pilots get it wrong too. So without the data to verify the claims being made, like physics defying performance, I'm going to have to remain skeptical and say, unless you can prove those claims with more than a story, it doesn't have any value. But let's listen some more.
There's no evidence that somebody pulled the tapes off. What does happen, and this is why we had to change the data retention policy, was all of these platforms have fixed storage or a fixed amount of storage, and they only retain the data for any given mission, maybe a day, and unless there is
and here's where it gets interesting.
Problem with the platform that they use the data for diagnostics for. And then the next time that platform goes out, the data is overwritten. So there's no conspiracy in that. That's just how the military operates with these data tapes and whatnot. So we did write new policy that said, hey, look, if you're
So interestingly, all the people that were promoting and pushing this mystery, which is not a mystery, sorry, all said basically the Men in Black came in a helicopter and they took all the data. No, they didn't. The data was overwritten. And I happen to have a friend of my family who's a lieutenant in the Navy serving on an aircraft carrier. I reached out to him and asked him, how long is the data retained? And he said, I don't know, a day or two, and then it's overwritten, which verifies that what Kirkpatrick here is saying is true. So, yeah, no data. So the Tic Tac is a pretty worthless situation. It will never be proven. All you're going to get is another 10 years of stories from people like, Fravor and Dietrich and others who all have profit-driven motives to continue the mystery.
Reporting a UAP, you have to save all of that data and transmit it to Arrow.
Well, that's a new change. So now, I don't know if this is all throughout the military, but I believe it is. If there's a UAP or UFO encounter, and the military now has to retain the data and send it into the Pentagon UFO program, Arrow, to be investigated. That's a positive change. And we may get cases in the future that do have data that shows craft doing extraordinary things. I'm optimistic and hopeful that may happen someday.
Within some period of time. So I think the Tic Tac is so far back in time, there's no,
2004.
data. We went and looked for all the data. But the other thing that we, I asked around a bit, which I don't know, it certainly hadn't been answered by the time I left, was, there wasn't a lot of asking or questioning of other activities that might have been going on at the time.
Yeah. So in other words, nobody bothered to check in with other branches of the military, other government agencies, maybe even private industry. After all, there is a drone development facility just a few miles from where this thing was sighted. Nobody bothered to try to eliminate prosaic explanations like drone tests or UAV tests or weapons platform testing or, experimental aircraft testing or anything else. Most of the people selling this false narrative just jumped straight to it must be aliens. But, they always do that dance, that dance, like, I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens. They all did that dance. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Naval activities or adversary activities. And both of those needed to be explored at that time because records of when tests, for example, were done that far back in time may not be accurate or exist, and records of any adversary activity.
Yeah, and also, I love some of these UFO true believers demanding the government give us the truth about the Tic Tac. You're talking about a 20-year event. Why didn't the people involved in this come forward in 2004 and demand that the government give them answers when all of the available information was still fresh? No, they waited till 2017 when an opportunity for a television show came around. It's a little suspicious to me anyway.
Will be hard to track down for exact date and time stamps, right? And those are the kinds of things that you want to get. So we'd have to look at that. All right. So Go Fast actually was explained at
Good
the
point,
NASA
Genuine
panel.
Arvo.
They did a really nice job of pulling that apart and demonstrating that was parallax. I think where I left that with Arrow was to take the analysis from NASA, double checks everybody, and then put that out as closure. I don't know where the status of that is. That's where I left it.
Yes. So the gimbal was completely and totally destroyed as, parallax. So not what it was purported to be, not what people claimed it was. It's not an extraordinary craft making extraordinary maneuvers or moving at extraordinary speed. It was essentially sensor malfunction. Great. And, people still want to hold on, do mental gymnastics, claim it was something else. It couldn't be that. Okay. But it is what it is.
And gimbal.
I'm sorry. That was the Go Fast. The Go Fast was destroyed by Mick West early on. And I find that pretty interesting. What I also found interesting about the Go Fast was we have Lou Elizondo getting it completely and totally wrong. Lou Elizondo got the Go Fast incident completely and totally wrong, hyped it up on his television show as going fast. Apparently, Lou Elizondo can't do, some basic math to determine what speed that object was actually going at. And there's a funny video. I thought I had it here. There was a funny video. Oh, now I can't find it, of course. There's a funny video of Lou Elizondo talking about the Go Fast, right? Like, oh, it was definitely, look at that thing's booking and all this stuff. Hyped up on his television show as going fast. Even the word go fast. Oh, I did find it. Okay. Even the word go fast is in the title of the video. And turns out it wasn't going fast. So, like I said, we have this incredible development that the director of a real Pentagon UFO program, a man that is very well educated, he's got PhDs, he can do math. So they did the math, and the math says that this object wasn't doing a tremendous amount of speed. So the fake Pentagon UFO program director, Lou Elizondo, got this whole situation completely and totally wrong. But let's examine this for a minute. What motive would Lou Elizondo have to pretend that this thing was going tremendous amounts of speed? Well, he put it on his television show, claiming it was going a tremendous amount of speed. It wasn't. This is a video from Stephen Greenstreet of the New York Post. This is fair use.
This video has come to be known as Go Fast and shows an object speeding just above the water.
That thing is hauling
That's
ass.
exactly my point.
It's a little less than 2/3 the speed of sound.
How is the craft able to fly so fast?
Apply basic trigonometry to figure out how far it moved. And in this case, this object moved about 390 meters in 22 seconds. And that corresponds to a velocity of just 40 miles per hour.
That thing is hauling
That's
ass.
exactly my point.
It's a little less than 2/3 the speed of sound.
40 miles per hour.
But how is the craft able to fly so fast?
40
miles per hour.
40 miles per hour.
Great job, Papa Lou. Great job. So what we have here is a situation wherein the fake Pentagon UFO program director that got TV show deals based on his lies of being a Pentagon UFO program director, cashing in on videos that he got out of the Pentagon. Turns out they were not quite what he said they were. Isn't that interesting? But we can think about this for a moment. If Lou Elizondo got that video out of the Pentagon and then there's two possibilities. Either he knew, they did the math and knew that thing was only going 40 miles an hour, or he's too incompetent to do a real analysis of UFOs, likely because he's the fake Pentagon UFO program director, unlike the real Pentagon UFO program director who applied things like math and science to the problem to try to solve the mystery. But Lou Elizondo had a baked-in reason to make it a mystery. Not only did he, want to not solve the mystery, he wanted to cash in on a mystery that wasn't a mystery and push forward a false narrative that this thing was doing a tremendous amount of speed so that he would have material for his television show, perhaps. Meanwhile, Kirkpatrick doesn't have a television show, doesn't need material for a television show, did actual math and did actual science, and that debunk is supported by Mick West and many other people who did similar debunks based on doing the math, the trigonometry. What distance did the object travel? We can determine its speed by seeing what distance it traveled in what amount of time. We can calculate that speed. Mick West did it correctly. NASA did it correctly. Kirkpatrick and Arrow did it correctly. Lou Elizondo did it completely and totally wrong. But let's get back to the Kirkpatrick video. I just think is there any wonder why this guy Kirkpatrick is getting death threats and people are making all kinds of, claims about him and being part of the cover up and all this stuff? He single-handedly, well, I'm sure he had help. Like I said, Mick West did that analysis before NASA. NASA helped. I'm sure he has people working for him at Arrow helped. But as far as like the public debate goes, Kirkpatrick is single-handedly destroying this entire false 2017 TTSA false narrative, unidentified. Well, it turns out 2 of those 3 of those videos were not unidentified. And they could have identified them, but then there's no mystery to sell. There's no alien spaceships and possibilities of alien spaceships to sell. So is there any wonder why Lou Elizondo wasn't able to solve those mysteries? And instead of solving those mysteries like a reasonable, rational, scientific-minded, individual would do, instead of solving the mystery, which was perfectly solvable, we know that now, instead, he perpetuated a mystery for money. Great. Let's continue with this. Now he's going to talk about the gimbal.
We had hypothesized was likely an artifact of how the sensor operates, as well as looking at a known object, probably a jet, and then seeing how that a FLIR blurs all of that kind of information. And so the only way you're going to prove that is you actually have to recreate it in the lab. And so one of the things that I had tried to get started before I retired was to do that, get the actual sensor platform or one of the laboratory surrogates and go recreate the entire scene in the lab and make sure that it does what we think it does, so that you can close that out as well. I don't know where that stands today, but that's what I had intended then.
So that's interesting. Essentially, they were going to get similar sensor and camera systems and verify that their theory that it was just a faraway airplane, which, by the way, that's also Mick West's theory, and a parallax effect or sensor defect, whatever. They're going to recreate that. Maybe that will be in the future report. So what we have now is the stunning refutation of false narratives and profit-driven claims made by Lou Elizondo, Tom DeLonge, Christopher Mellon, Hal Puthoff, and all the TTSA money-grubbing gang. And I think it's beautiful. It's a shame that only 2 of the 3, but you have to imagine if Lou Elizondo was willing to perpetuate a mystery instead of solve the mystery, which we now know he could have done had he done his due diligence or was a real investigator. He wasn't a real UFO investigator. He was the investigator for UFOs in the land of make-believe. And everything about Lou Elizondo just screams profit-driven motives. He could have solved the mystery of those 3. He didn't do that. And by the way, this is something else I'm going to share. This is from Stephen Greenstreet, again from the New York Post. This is the original clearance request for public release of those videos. And that specific video, it was an MPG file. Those 3 videos, Go Fast, Gimbal, and FLIR, they were labeled as UAV or unmanned aerial vehicle, balloons, and other unmanned aerial systems. Lou Elizondo filled this out. He identified them as unmanned aerial vehicles, balloons, or other unmanned aerial systems. And by the way, these videos were never meant for public publication. You see at the bottom, it says not applicable, not for publication, research and analysis only, and info sharing with other United States government and industry partners for the purposes of developing a database to help identify, analyze, and ultimately defeat unmanned aerial system threats. What does that mean? That means although Lou Elizondo got them declassified to share within the United States government, those 3 videos were not meant for public release. How did they get out of the Pentagon then? Well, according to Christopher Mellon, who is also a member of what has been described as the TTSA techno investment scam, somebody bent the rules. And they somehow made it, I suppose, from Lou Elizondo's desk out to Christopher Mellon in the parking lot of the Pentagon. But Lou Elizondo has never admitted that he walked them out to the Pentagon. Nobody really knows who walked him out to the Pentagon. But it is interesting that we've got Lou Elizondo clearing these videos so that he could take possession of them, I suppose. And then we've got Christopher Mellon getting a CD-ROM out in the Pentagon parking lot. And then immediately Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon go to TTSA right after they get these videos out of the Pentagon and start what has been described again as the TTSA techno investment scam, in which I believe they misrepresented these videos. And by the way, what legal right did Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon have to solicit and collect investment money from the public based on 3 videos that Lou Elizondo declassified for internal use at the Pentagon, but were never intended for public consumption or display? Did they have a legal right to collect investor money? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a police officer. I don't work for the Securities and Exchange Commission. I'm just asking questions here, but this is pretty suspicious. They get these videos out of the Pentagon, and then Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon are involved in what has been described as a techno investment scam, in which they clearly misrepresented information to investors in the form of promising investors a spaceship, in the form of telling people. Lou Elizondo, while in TTSA, was doing presentations claiming he ran a $22 million funded Pentagon UFO program. No, he didn't. It didn't exist. That's a misrepresentation, in my opinion. And then they misrepresent these videos and what they really depict, in my opinion, in order to get people to invest in their, money grab, I guess. And then, of course, they misrepresent this material they claim to be in possession of, which also Kirkpatrick destroys as being completely and totally ordinary metal, nothing spectacular. So what we see here is a former government Pentagon UFO program destroying the entire narrative that was pushed by this alleged TTSA techno scam, including members Lou Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, Hal Puthoff, and more, Tom DeLonge, and more. I just think this is pretty interesting, but it gets better or worse. Worse if you're, on the Lou crew, better if you're not. And it's very disappointing, however, that it has taken this incredibly long for this false narrative to finally come crashing down. Now I got just a few more things to share. One second here. Let me get. Kirkpatrick made some other comments, which I think were really, really disturbing. And we're going to share those here. Remember when Marco Rubio said there are 2 possibilities? Either there's truth to some of these allegations, or there's a lot of wackadoos working within the United States government. Turns out, yeah, there's a lot of wackadoos working within the United States government. So Marco Rubio was right. There were 2 possibilities. Either some of this is true, or there's an awful lot of wackadoos working at high-ranking government officials, right? And here we'll say fair use one more time. And again, I hate to lean on him heavily, but like I go through my Twitter feed, and Green Street has this. By the way, I'm asking if anybody has the full recording of this this March 14th event, interview with the National Security Space Association. Please email me at truthseekershow@gmail.com. I'd really like to get the entire thing because I'm sure there's some other wonderful nuggets in them. But Green Street says this. A former senior Pentagon official has sounded the alarm about a UFO religion that has infiltrated the U.S. military, duped the U.S. Congress, and could put national security at risk. And who could he be talking about? Oh, the usual suspects, right? All the same people. They're all connected to Grush. They're all connected to Elizondo and Hal Puthoff and Gary Nolan. All the same. And Stratton and Travis Taylor. All the same group of people, in my opinion. Green Street goes on to write, Sean Kirkpatrick, former director of Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, spent 18 months preparing an in-depth report on the UFO mania that has gripped America since 2017. He cites the report and goes on to say, Kirkpatrick discovered a small network of religious UFO conspiratists, both in and out of government, spreading unfounded tall tales about aliens in order to get taxpayer resources for their paranormal crusade. Today, in an interview with NSSA Space, Kirkpatrick re-emphasized his concern that these UFO activists inside government are propelled by fringe beliefs rather than evidence and are a potential threat to national security. That's right, all you stupid people claiming Lou Elizondo is a hero. Well, according to the real Pentagon UFO program director, that fake Pentagon UFO program director may be a threat to national security. So there you have it. Yeah, I think it's great. My February, this is Green Street, my February 2024 New York Post reporting exposed this dubious group of religious UFO crusaders and the congressional leaders they've duped. My March 2023 New York Post report previously exposed the UFO story as a lie. The rest of the mainstream media continues to ignore this shocking story, playfully promulgating false stories about UFOs and aliens. And here's what Kirkpatrick actually had to say. It's kind of disturbing because now we have a former Pentagon program director essentially confirming the reporting of Stephen Greenstreet and others. And we have wackadoos at pretty high levels in the United States government, according to multiple sources now, including Kirkpatrick.
If you look back in time, the contemporary allegations that we're dealing with today had their roots 60, 70 years ago, and it waxes and wanes with some variation on that story over time. And every time, the little variations that go into that tend to not bear fruit. They end up being not true. But the fact that no one will recognize that means that there's some other fundamental factor at play here.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. So he's saying these things, come and go, and every time they come up again, there's little variations or additions to the major narrative, but they never bear fruit. In other words, people keep tacking on and adding on to existing mythology. And the previous existing mythology didn't have any evidence, just stories. And now people come along and add on to that pre-existing mythology that had no evidence, and they equally have no evidence. It never bears fruit.
Because the truth is contrary to the belief. So I think the thing to take away from this is there is a belief.
Yeah, so he's saying the truth is contrary to their belief. And so they just ignore the truth in favor of their belief system. That's what a cult does. That's what a cult does.
Without evidence, that is never going to go away. I think the thing that is most troublesome to me is the number of people that are in government that I may have worked with for decades that I did not know had that belief until they sat down in my office and told me, I'm not going to help you because you're part of the government cover-up of all the alien technology.
So now we get the stunning revelation that Dr. Kirkpatrick had high-ranking government officials come into his office and look at this quote. I'm not going to help you because you're part of the government cover-up of all the alien technology. That is disturbing. Absolutely, that is disturbing. High-ranking government officials are refusing to help other high-ranking government officials because they're part of the cover-up of the alien technology. It's cultic. You know, if you believe this stuff, I'm not saying you're in a cult, but you might be.
For somebody who I've known for a while and worked on highly sensitive national security problems on.
Okay, so the person that said this to him is not just, some person within the government. It's a person he knew very well and a person he worked on high-ranking, very sensitive government secret projects with. And that means there's people working in high-ranking secret government projects that believe this whole alien technology, the crashes, the cover-up, the bodies. There's high-ranking government people that believe this stuff.
To say that without evidence as a belief is disturbing and should be a flag for the national security community. Because how can you then trust those people? If they are not objective enough to understand evidentiary-based assertions like that, or lack of evidence in those assertions, how can you trust them with our national secrets? I think that is certainly a concern.
Yeah, so there you go. And, there are people that, and by the way, a lot of people think he's referencing Grush. He's saying that Grush didn't want to help him because he's part of the cover-up. And who's saying he's part of the cover-up? The people he's busting, right? In my opinion. So was he talking about Grush? I don't know that, but a lot of people are speculating that he's talking about Grush. And also, one second here, also claiming that high-ranking government officials who are charged with some of the nation's most secret information and projects are believers of this UFO cult religion, whatever you want to call it, this false narrative. That is incredibly disturbing, right? Incredibly disturbing. So not a good day to be a member of the Lou crew or UFO cult. And again, it's no wonder that everybody's attacking this guy. He just destroyed all of these false beliefs that everyone held. Not everyone, but many, many people have held since 2017. He destroys the false Lou Elizondo narrative, the false TTSA narrative, the false Adam Project narrative. Remember that? We've got alien, we might have alien metal in our possession. Destroys that narrative. Essentially destroys the Grush narrative as well as being evidence-free, telephone game story time hour with no real or verifiable evidence. So it's no surprise to me why everybody's attacking this guy. It's because he is destroying their mythology that they love to cling to. A lot of guys are still trying to hold on to that disclosure boner, though, right? Oh no, it's still all true. It's all part of a cover-up. Well, until people prove that Kirkpatrick is part of a cover-up, I'm going to believe him because he's applying real science and real investigatory work to try to solve the mystery. And remember, Kirkpatrick is not selling you a story. He's telling you a story. He's telling you the story of how he investigated a lot of these UFO Grift Squad member claims and came away completely and totally unimpressed and unconvinced that their stories had any truth, merit, and especially real evidence. So, I think that's all I got for you. We'll call this one a short one for once. I will take a moment to thank some generous members of the live chat, like High Speed Chase. Thanks for being a member, and thanks for the kind and generous $5 super chat. For those unaware, we read every single super chat. Thank you, Stephen, for exposing all these wackadoos. Keep it up. Tracks will be coming soon enough, my friend. I'll talk to you about that off air. I've got the project that High Speed Chase, for those unaware, is also a guitar player, and I need one for upcoming project. So I've got that project with no guitars. I've got another project with all the guitars finished that needs vocals, another album. So I've got 2 or 3 albums in the works. I'll talk to you off air. Thank you, though, High Speed Chase, for being a good show supporter, and of course for helping us to praise the cash, because that's what's important. All right, now we'll take some comments and questions from the live chat. I've got a little more time to share with you, but as I have talked about previously, some of you are aware of this, every year around this time, it starts getting unbearably hot in my cramped little attic office here. And the only solution when it gets too hot, and by that I mean if it's more than 75 or 80 outside, is to blast an air conditioner in here where I can't even sit in here. And I can't do that during the live broadcast, so we'll be moving to Studio B probably next week. This may be the last show here for some time. And Rotary Motion says, freezing my nuts off here. Yeah, I can't believe it. It went from needing it. And by the way, this room also has, it's not connected into the home's main heating system. Well, it is, but the radiators don't work. They're broken and have been for some time. So we've got this electric heater in here, and I go from it being freezing in here, 3 days later, now I'm sweating. So there's no in between in here. And by the way, right behind this backdrop is the only window in the room. So the air conditioner's got to go right here. And like, I hate this time of the year because I'm going to have to move everything to the other studio. And then you get comfortable working in a certain spot, and then you have to do it somewhere else, and it feels weird for a little while. But yeah, Operation Shutdown is here and says, praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Absolutely. And for those unaware, we read every single super chat, and we thank everybody for their kindness, generosity, and support. Steve Long says, Stephen has become a real pro, running down the facts, issues, and questions with the disclosure narratives like an ace. So thank you. I appreciate that, Steve Long. And you do a good job, too. Steve Long's a good follow on Twitter. Follow him on Twitter. He doesn't have his own show, but I think he will someday. And but for now, he's just posting really sensical sort of analysis of what's really going on Twitter that I appreciate. Diligent, hardworking government employees are unknown, unappreciated, and vilified, while egotistical, faith-demanding ex-government employees are famous, believed entirely, and praised while they court money and media. Can't say I disagree with that. I think it's pretty true. Simon Fly says, this story about these loons in government is more interesting than aliens visiting Earth. Yeah, could you, I mean, think about it. There is an entire like cult inside the United States government that are all like, yeah, I know I work for the government, but the government's hiding alien bodies and alien technology and alien spaceships from us, and I'm going to find out about it. And so Simon and Steve Long, everybody within the sound of my voice, what we have to ask ourselves is how many of these loons and wackadoos are in our government are wasting taxpayer-funded money, time, and resources when they should be doing their real job. They're trying to find aliens that don't exist instead of doing their real job. Like, I think there should be an audit of these people. Let's figure out what they're doing, what resources they're using, and shut them down, right? Unless you have evidence, right? Unless you have evidence, you know, and by the way, we've talked about this in earlier shows this week. All of these UFO Grift Squad members can prove Kirkpatrick wrong. Show us all this evidence that you bluffed that Grush had. Pull out those 40 whistleblower firsthand witnesses to alien spaceships. Show us who got murdered by the aliens. Remember, they said people have been murdered, both by aliens, right, I think, and the government covering up aliens. Well, show us the murder cases. Show us the murder investigations for the people that were murdered for trying to cover up alien secrets, right? It is just ridiculous. I'll show you how ridiculous. It has gotten so ridiculous, and these grifters are in full-on cope mode trying to save their lucrative UFO grifts. They're in cope mode. They're going to do anything they can. Listen, this is gold. Or 1 second here. Let me get, I have one more thing to share with you. And then I'll take comments and questions from the live chat. Please put them in all capital letters. This was from Skyfire News today. And I wrote, You know Ross Coulthardt's grift has gone too far when even a former congressman is calling bullshit on his fake sources and fake stories. Grift level Maximus unlocked. Someone should tell that former congressman about his giant spaceship claims. And this is from a clip from Skyfire News that says, former congressman calls out Ross Coulthart to reveal the name of his congressional staffer source claiming knowledge of a UFO crash retrieval and reverse engineering program. Denver Riggleman, former congressman, says, give up the name or shut up. We've reached ignorance singularity and grift maximus. How bad do you got to have that grift knob turned up to 11 for a former congressman to call you out and call you a grifter? But that's what happened. Let's see the claim. And by the way, we've talked a lot this week about evidence-free claims. Trust me, bro. Claims made completely and totally without any evidence whatsoever. And people claiming sources, but not being able to share those sources. In other words, making things up, telling fake stories. And hey, Bryce Zabel, this is your partner. This is what you're supporting, right? Didn't you used to be somebody in Hollywood? This is your Grift Squad partner, right? What is it? Need to Know podcast. And what you need to know is they love money and they don't have any evidence. And they've been caught pumping, promoting, and profiting from completely and totally fake stories. So congratulations, Bryce Zabel, right? I hope your wife and children are proud of you. You're helping an Australian disgraced journalist sell fake stories on the internet. Didn't you used to be somebody in Hollywood? Like, what happened? Bruce, Zabel, whatever your name is. This is great. So Coulthart makes some completely and totally on-the-spot claims where he won't name the source, and a congressman calls him out. Let's take a listen.
I was walking down a street in Washington, and I was looking around at the people around me and thinking, my God, you people don't know what I know. And I'd just come away from an incredible conversation with a staffer in the Congress who was telling me what they knew was going on. And it's revelations of direct first-hand witness evidence of a retrieval program and a reverse engineering program inside the United States, mainly run.
Oh, so he's just hanging out, and a congressional staffer recognizes him, comes up to him, and tells him what he knows about government crash retrieval programs. Great. Can you name the source so we can interview them? Well, no, I can't. Great. Can you name the program so we can investigate? Well, no, I can't. In other words, this is another completely and totally fake story, evidence-free claim made by a disgraced Australian journalist who's been caught selling at least 5 completely and totally fake stories in recent years.
By private aerospace companies, but also overseen by a very small group of gatekeepers in the defense and intelligence community. I was walking.
So that's what he said, and then a congressman says, give up the name or shut up. We've reached ignorance, singularity, and grift maximus. We've reached grift level maximus, which is, it's like, it's better than 10. Grift level maximum is 10. Maximus is 11. You know, you just got to crank it up even more. Ross Coulthart and his partner, I suppose, to a lesser extent, in that god-awful shit show of a podcast that pushes completely and totally fake stories constantly. Yeah, they just make up stuff, right? And now they're being called out. And I think the desperation is setting in because Coulthart and all of these people bluffed that Grush had all of this evidence for almost a year now, right? I haven't done it today yet. Let's see, days. It's saved in my 283 days since David Grush made his original claims. Still no evidence. Still no evidence. And yeah, the government comes out and says they don't have any evidence. So you know how you prove the government wrong? All of you Grush supporters and Lou Elizondo ass lickers, you show the evidence that they've been saying they have for 283 days now. Pull out those 40 first-hand witnesses. Where are they at? oh no, they don't feel comfortable coming forward because of the way Grush was treated or some other. All you get is excuses and circle jerking and mental gymnastics so that people can stay in this false, delusional, evidence-free, faith-based false reality created by a bunch of grifters. Yes, Solar Marshall, easy for you to say. I have other priorities in my life. Solar Marshall says, you have to stay on them, Steve. Everybody tells me that. Like, you keep going after these people. Well, at some point, you have to throw up your hands and say, I've done enough. Kind of like we've done in the case of some of these people. Like, at some point, I have to check out and say, this is not worth any more time or energy until they, actually show up with some evidence of their incredible claims. Right? Yes, Lucy Day, thank you for being a member with a very good point. Says, always knows amazing, frightening things he can't disclose, but will soon. Yeah, the same guy who said he knew where a giant alien spaceship was, but he couldn't tell us. Don't know the accent, do know the country, do know that no country will claim him. Well, he's Australian, yeah. Grush witnesses sat right behind him at the hearing, one on the left and one on the right. We know whom they are. Yeah, Corbell and Knapp. Those are the people. Those very well could be some of the people filling Grush's head with all of these stories. And we know what kind of evidence Corbell and Knapp have. None. Or they've got false, fake evidence like flares they claim are alien spaceships, or Batman balloons they claim are alien spaceships, right? That's an off-planet accent. Yeah. Lou and his butt lickers never have evidence except evidence of grifting. Yes. Solar Marshall says, I think Corbell may have even whispered to them. Yes. Wise Monkey is here. Welcome, Wise Monkey. He says, he will have a 1-year contract with News Nation, then he will be gone. And that station will shut down shortly afterward. You heard it here first. Could be if it is an op or a CIA disinformation campaign, like a lot of people think. I burned out. You witnessed it firsthand. I totally crashed on this stuff. You mean when you were? I'm not going to get into it. We got over that. But yeah. Thriller Jim, thank you for becoming a member. High Speed Chase with another kind of generous $5 says Ross Coulthart looks like Gonzo from the Muppet Babies. He really does. I can't say I disagree with you. Thank you for being a member, and thank you for helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
All right, we'll take some more comments and questions from the live chat. Questions or comments for me, please put them in all capital letters. Thriller Jim says, supporting your Patreon for the annual. Thank you, Thriller Jim. Brother, can you spare $1? By the way, there are some things I want to clear up, but first let me thank you, Jim, for being a Patreon supporter. For those unaware, I don't like putting anything behind a paywall, but we do have 2 of them. It's just a financial necessity in today's media landscape, especially because a great many of our videos get demonetized for various reasons. But we have the Patreon is $1 a month, and I post a couple of extra videos there, just some extra goodies for you people that are supporting us. That's $1. Brother, can you spare $1? I was at a coffee shop recently. By the way, I haven't been to an actual coffee shop in a long time. I don't drink coffee, but I happen to be at a coffee shop, and it was $4.90 for a cup of Earl Grey tea at a coffee shop. So our Patreon's $1, less than a cup of coffee, I think. If Earl Grey tea was $4.90, maybe it was just an expensive coffee shop. I don't know. But if Earl Grey tea was $4.90, can you get a cup of coffee for $1? Maybe at Dunkin' Donuts or at Wawa or 7-Eleven, but definitely not at Starbucks. Anyway, our Patreon's only $1, and we appreciate all you people supporting us. You just get a couple extra goodies. And then, if you're feeling very generous, you should become a YouTube channel member, because you get the same things that I post for the Patreon members, but you get a channel member badge, which lets people know that you're a big supporter of the channel, and some other goodies. Thank you, Thriller Jim. We appreciate you. Thank you for appreciating us and helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash.
All right. And now there's just another bit of business. So questions or comments from me, please put them in all capital letters. Smith says, episode on Sheehan soon. I heard you get a pot of gold if you follow him. Well, we covered him a little bit, but we haven't done a full episode of him. I tried to go through that appearance of him, but it was largely boring about his history of legal stuff, and it was very, maybe I could cut some things out. I don't know, but yeah, we may cover that more soon. Now, the bit of business that I have to cover is that the true believers are losing the script and launching new attacks from me and spreading false, completely and totally false and malicious rumors about me. And I just want to clear that up. I've gotten a couple of people ask me about this because, by the way, I don't delete comments on YouTube. If you want to call me, cocksucker, well, I don't think you can. We don't allow people to curse in our YouTube comments. So two bits of business. If you're going to call me a CIA disinformation cocksucking agent, leave out the cocksucking part because the YouTube filter will hold your comment if you curse. So if you're going to call me a cocksucker or whatever, don't curse. And number two, there seems to be a coordinated effort. This is news to me, and for the first time here, it'll be news to you, my viewers. There are people in my YouTube comments accusing me of having a failed career as a psychic before I began Truthseekers. I don't know where they're getting this information. If they actually knew my history, they would know that I have busted a tremendous amount of fake psychics, psychic healers, psychic mediums, and psychic fortune tellers, and more. I've never performed professionally as a psychic. I have never taken money from anyone as a psychic. Never. I think that there is a real disinformation campaign being organized by certain people. Unhappy, right? Are you unhappy because I told you the truth about your UFO scumbag grifting heroes, and now you got to make up false stories about me? Good, I guess. But just to put it on the record and to clear whatever misconceptions people have, I have not ever in my lifetime been a professional psychic. Never. So I'm not sure where, and there's more than one person making these comments that I had a failed career as a psychic before starting Truthseekers. Completely and totally false, I don't know where they're getting that. People may understand and know that I was once a professional magician. Is that what you mean? But those are two different things. The people coming to my magic shows didn't think that I really had superpowers. They knew better. They knew it was entertainment. And by the way, I was damn good at it. Not embarrassed. People, some people try to slag me or bust my balls. I had a tremendous run before, and this was before my child was diagnosed with autism. Shortly after he was diagnosed, and we knew that he would need a tremendous amount of care, I stopped touring and doing those things. Maybe someday I'll return. I still got all my crap in the garage. But just to set the record straight, I've never been a professional psychic, let alone a failed professional psychic. I think they might have taken something that I said about doing a mentalism show. While doing magic shows, I did a mentalism show. But a mentalism show and being a professional psychic are not the same thing. It's not predatory. When you do a mentalism show, it's basically magic tricks for the mind. And in fact, the show that I did, that was largely a mentalism show. There was a little bit of magic tricks in it, but it was mostly mentalism tricks. It was mind reading and spoon bending and predicting the future and, all these different, but they were all tricks. And people coming to the show knew it was a form of entertainment. It was tricks. It wasn't real. So there is I just want to make sure that everybody understands there's a huge distinction from doing magic shows and being a failed. And by the way, I was successful at magic shows, winning many, many awards. I won awards for children's magic, mentalism, close-up magic, and stage magic. So I wasn't a failed magician if I'm winning all these awards and making an incredibly good living at it and being very successful and in demand. But I've definitely never been a professional psychic, never given psychic readings, never, had somebody pay me to do tarot card readings or psychic readings or any of that. So just to set the record straight, whoever is in my comments claiming that I was a failed psychic grifter, that's what they're saying, by the way. Oh, Stephen Cambion's a grifter too. He was once a psychic grifter and he failed at it before he started Truthseekers. Where are you getting this shit? I would love to see me as a professional psychic, right? And by the way, if I were going to grift as a professional psychic, I would be one of the greats. I know it, right? Yeah, it might have been my story about the cold reading. Sandra McDonald says, I remember that show about cold reading peeps. Yeah. But cold reading, and as a magician, or explaining cold reading as a magician, familiar with those techniques, and being a grifting professional psychic that is taking advantage of people and whatever, is two totally different things. I've never done the grifter side. Sorry, not sorry. I may have mentioned, though, that I had an agent who told me that I should do that because I would make 3 times or 10 times as much money. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. Maybe that's where they got this rumor from. I don't know. But there's multiple people spreading that rumor. So we'll just set the record straight. Have not now, nor have I ever been in my entire lifetime a professional psychic, let alone a failed one. If I was going to do that, I'd be great at grifting, let me tell you, because I know all the tricks, all the secrets. You debunked Sarah Adams, you would be a hypocrite. Laugh out loud. Yeah, people make stuff up. But anyway, if you're going to slander me in the comments, post the source of the shit that you're saying about me. It's only fair. If you're going to make, if you're going to disparage my credibility to my audience in my own YouTube comments, then at least provide the source of the information that you're sharing. None of them will, though. Was that clip of Chris Angel on Steve O's Here or Lose show? It must have been on Lou's show. I would not play a clip of, I don't want to say anymore, but I would never play a clip of Chris Angel on my show ever. And there's personal reasons for that. It's a long story. But you should know that almost all magicians know each other, or there's one degree of separation. So if I don't know a magician, I know friends of that magician that know me. It's a small, the UFO subculture is tiny. The magic subculture is even tinier. Those supposed winning lottery numbers you gave me, Steve, didn't win. Yeah, I guess I'm a failed psychic. See that? Lucy Day says, problem is these people don't understand the need for credible sources and evidence for their beliefs. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, right? Carrot Top, though. Science is magic. Well, sometimes, yeah. Genuine Argyle says, I remote view Stephen Cambian's psychic readings with 0.04% accuracy. Trust me, bro. Yeah. Solar Marshall, I don't see Sarah Adams that much online anymore. Well, boy, have I got some dirt, but I can't really share it. There's some stuff going on, Solar Marshall, that you wouldn't believe, at least according to somebody messaging me about her and what's been going on with her. But, like I said earlier in the broadcast, 3 things cannot long be hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. You can only grift for so long, and then it starts coming crashing down. Solar Marshall says, make a show of it. I will if that person, see, here's the problem, Solar Marshall, and you know this because people do it to you too. People come to you or me, people come to a lot of people and they share really juicy, dirty information, but then they say, but you can't talk about this. This is off the record. And then I go, damn. Okay. I have never betrayed somebody's trust. If they tell me off the record, I won't divulge the source or what they said, but holy shit, is it juicy, Solar Marshall. Yes. Rotary Motion is here. It says the truth will always come out. Solar Marshall. Yes, I hate that. And it happens all the time still. Yeah. It's like, why are you even telling me then if I can't use this shit, right? This is good shit. I want to use it on my show tonight, right? But anyway, I have a source, and they knew this person intimately, and oh boy. So I've asked for an interview. We'll see what happens, and maybe we'll bring you that. So what else can I say? It's a bad day to be a member of a UFO cult, because in order to keep this false reality going for yourself, You have to invent new conspiracy theories to cover for why the old conspiracy theories are all fake, or pretend that the old conspiracy theories are not fake. You just need some new conspiracy theories, some new mental gymnastics, new claims of Men in Black and cover up, and God knows who knows, right? Yeah. So I think we've done our due diligence. Wise Monkey says that opportunity has gone. They will drift away and then come back hoping everybody forgot this grift. Yeah. It's called the Cosmic Con Shuffle. You get caught selling a completely and totally fake story. You shuffle away for a while. Wait till the outrage over you selling fake shit dies down, and then you shuffle back with a new fake story for them. Happens all the time. They all do it. Linda Moulton Howe does it. Corey Good does it. David Wilcock does it. Elizondo does it. They all do it. Randy says, good night, everyone. Great show tonight, Stephen. Yes. Okay, so we've done our due diligence. I am going to bounce on out of here. Now, there will not be a live show tomorrow night, but there will be a very special premiere, a documentary, a free documentary that certain shady grifters try to keep off of YouTube. And at the time this was happening, I think there was something going on where I already had a strike that I was waiting to expire, and I didn't want to risk 2 strikes and risk my channel. So I didn't want to get into a fight over this documentary. And I led an effort to just distribute it everywhere on alt video sites. And I got a bunch of other people to upload it to their Rumble channels and all this stuff. But it really belongs on YouTube. And the issue in that situation is, and I will ask this as a question, you let me know in the comments or in the live chat, if an investigative filmmaker makes a documentary exposing the fakery, fraudery, and outright fraud perpetuated by the target of the documentary or the subject of the documentary, let me try to say this right. So a documentary was made, and it's about Third Phase of Moon. And Third Phase of Moon had done everything they could, including false copyright strikes and false claims of privacy and all this other stuff, to keep that documentary off of YouTube. This documentary rips apart all of their early fake UFOs, false stories, defrauding the public, defrauding YouTube, even up to using their 4-year-old child to make a fake alien video and then putting it out on YouTube as a real video. So I guess my question is, should the subject of a documentary exposing them for literal fraud be allowed to decide that documentary is not allowed on YouTube when they perpetrated most of their fraud on the YouTube platform? I don't think so. And in fact, I feel so strongly about this that I'm willing to fight them in state court if necessary. So lawyer letters are standing by. I'll go to court. They want to fly here from wherever and sue me in my jurisdiction, the state of Pennsylvania, for copyright infringement. I've got all the fair use case law already pulled out. I will be representing myself pro se, so it won't cost me anything. I just got to drive to the courthouse and argue my arguments in front of a judge or a jury. I feel so strongly that these clowns should not be allowed to bully people who expose their fraudery, fakery, and bullshittery, that I'm willing to take that risk. And I hope that you will keep that in mind and support me tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Very special premiere. Let me do the proper thing, and we'll see if we can't. I'll share this. And by the way, just so we're clear, I did not make this documentary. It was made by somebody named Sapiens Culture, who did an absolutely ridiculously incredible job exposing, I think it's over 30 complete and total hoaxes of Third Phase of Moon. So, and by the way, on Saturday night is the follow-up to this documentary, which exposes 30 or more of their more recent hoaxes. And you may remember this, The Hoax Files, episode 1, third phase of moon exposed. And I wrote, why was this video banned from YouTube? The Hoax Files, episode 1, third phase of moon exposed. So this is tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Obviously, it's a documentary. It's a premiere, so we're not going to be live, but I will be in the live chat from the cabin. Hopefully, the internet is enough. You know, sometimes I have to stream at like 360 where it buffers, and you know, I'm out in the woods out there. So anyway, I would appreciate your attendance and support. This is an important effort, and I'm taking a lot of risk, but I will not be bullied. They bullied this filmmaker to get it off of YouTube. And at the time, I didn't really want to risk putting it on my channel. But I've since rethought that position. We cannot allow people who are being exposed as committing fraud and hoaxes to decide if we're allowed to do that. No, you committed these things. You perpetrated all these hoaxes and we caught you. We have the right to broadcast it on the same platform that you committed all the hoaxes on. And by the way, if I have to involve YouTube in this fight, I will. I feel very strongly that there's legal precedence that YouTube will agree with our position that the subject of a documentary does not get to decide whether it should be allowed on the YouTube platform or not. These are the targets of an investigatory documentary about all their hoaxing and fraudery and fakery. They don't get to bully people and say, you can't put that on YouTube. That doesn't get to happen. Not in my world. So let the chips fall where they may. They can do whatever they're going to do. I have the right to publish it. We're publishing it. You know, I remember when I made this decision, I took a long walk and I was thinking about the stifling effect that censorship has, right? You know, think about all of the greatest, you know, sort of investigatory pieces into corruption and wrongdoing. What if the subjects of those pieces was just allowed to say, you know what, you can't print that in your newspaper because it exposes me? That can't happen. A journalist has the right, as long as it's within legal bounds, to investigate corruption or hoaxes or anything else, and yes, to broadcast it. And you may remember that there was this whole big rigmarole when this all first happened. And one of their underlings, ass-licking underlings, who has the worst UFO show anybody that I know has ever seen, he claimed that first documentary was misleading and that they hadn't done any hoaxes in the past 5 years. And I was sort of outraged by that because we caught him in ones that were in the last 5 years. Then he backpedals and says, after I caught him in hoaxes, complete and totally provable hoaxes in the past 5 years, then he moves the goalpost again and he says, well, they haven't hoaxed anything in 3 years. Then we caught hoaxes that they've done in the past 3 years. Then he said 2 years and we caught a hoax that they did in 2 years. It's just a level of ridiculousness. So this weekend is free documentary weekend on Truthseekers. Friday night at 9 p.m. we have the first third phase of Moon Exposed, which exposes over 30 of their earlier YouTube hoaxes, as well as some more recent ones. And then Saturday at 9 p.m., another free documentary, Recent Fakes and Misrepresentations, third phase of hoax, third phase of fake. So that's what's going on here on our channel. I will not be live tomorrow night at 9 p.m., but I'll be in the live chat. I will not be live Saturday at 9 p.m., but I'll be in the live chat. So I hope that you will support these efforts. Please go to our video sections and share these videos on your social media for the premiere. I'd really appreciate that. And that would be one way that you could help support free speech and send a message to the people that try to stifle free speech that you don't get to do that. Not when the documentary is about you. Not when the documentary is about you, twin clown hoaxers. All right. Yeah, Solar Marshall says, poor Michael Strad is caught up with them, and it's not good for them. Did you see, was it last night's show? Dude, there's a comic book with Michael Schratt telling President Trump he needs to bring Stephen Greer in for a briefing. There's a comic book where Michael Schratt is talking to President Trump and saying, you really need to get Stephen Greer in here to get to the bottom of this. Poor Michael Schratt is right. But, I'm sure that many of his friends warned him. I did, you did, other people did. You probably shouldn't work for the clown show. And I feel bad for him. I really think, Solar Marshall, that he's just too nice to say no to people. But at some point, you have to grow a backbone and say, no, you're not going to put me in a comic book to tell a completely fake story. And by the way, we busted that story. President Trump never asked him for a briefing, never received a briefing. It's all a fake story. They put that fake story in their fake comic book with Michael Schratt telling President Trump, you need to bring in Stephen Greer. He's the expert. It's so ridiculous. Yeah. So we've done our due diligence. And as is often the case, earlier I said, oh, this will be a quick one. And here we are, right, just about at the 2 hour mark. By the way, I'm happy to say that we've cleared up the clock problems. Apparently, on Windows 10, you have to tell it to automatically account for daylight savings time. I just manually changed. I put the clock ahead 1 hour. That screwed everything up. Now we're fixed, and it's showing the proper broadcast time and all that stuff. But there is still a bug where it used to show you or only calculate from Twitter live viewers. Now it's just counting viewers and saying you have this many. It's telling me I have 325 live viewers, and I know that's not the case. Now that's an aggregate of all of the platforms, but there's some kind of bug where every view for Twitter, every view you get on Twitter just counts as a live view or live viewer. So that's way off. I see we have 151 just in YouTube, and maybe we've got 20 or 30 on the other platforms. And by the way, we love and appreciate all you people listening on the all platforms like Rumble or Twitch or the Facebook Live feed or wherever, Instagram. But you really should do me a favor and go on over to YouTube and click that little magnifying glass, the search bar tool. Put Truthseekers, one word, in the search bar. Also, if you're listening in audio podcast land, please do go over to youtube.com, smash that magnifying glass, put Truthseekers, one word, in the search bar. Look for me, the strange guy with sunglasses. Go to our channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and come and be a part of our live tapings for the show. You are most welcome. Yes, Steve Long says, Schratt may be a nice guy, but in my opinion, his gig has always been 45 minutes of verifiable aerospace, followed by 15 minutes of unevidenced speculation on next-gen non-human intelligence tech. Yeah, I really, my favorite thing he ever did, Steve Long, you could still find it on YouTube, I think. He did a 2-hour lecture on waste, fraud, and abuse in black budget programs in the aerospace industry. It is amazing. That's what made me sort of a fan of his and reach out and get to talk to him and meet him. I wish him the best. I just wish that he would make better choices. But, look, it's kind of like being in a band, Steve Long. Like, I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but I did. When you're in a band, you have to play with other bands that you think suck just to get a gig. So I don't know what's going on with him. For all we know, he knows that Stephen Greer's a liar, and he knows that Third Phase of Moon are a joke, but it's a gig. So you got to take it. I've been in that situation where you just have to take the gig from people you don't like or you don't work, right? Solar Marshall, does anyone have a link where Michael Schratt is in the book? I'll see if I can't. Well, we had the video. We played the video. Hold on. We played the video. It's in Third Phase. Hold on, I'll put it up on the screen so everybody understands what we're talking about. Stephen Greer has in the past been caught by me and other researchers lying through his teeth and claiming that the United States government is in possession of, claiming that he briefed both President Trump and Vice President Pence about aliens and UFOs. The problem is that we fact check him, and what we find out is that that's not accurate. President Trump and Vice President Pence never asked Stephen Greer for a briefing. Never got a briefing from Stephen Greer. And yeah, here, I found that. I could share that right now. Here's Michael Schratt in the comic book talking to President Trump, right? And he's telling him in this panel, you have to bring in Dr. Stephen Greer. That's Michael Schratt right there. I'm sorry, it's small. That's Michael Schratt. You have to bring in Stephen Greer, because these people are trying to keep the secret of the aliens from you, right? It's so stupid. And by the way, this is transformative work. We're educating the public. So I thought I found a bigger panel before. Oh, there we go. There we go. Oh man, I can't read it because the text is over it. He passed. Maybe he could be more help than you think. There's Michael Schratt. There's Michael Schratt telling the president, Mr. President, I assure you, if anyone has knowledge of the ET agenda, it's Dr. Greer. And Trump says, the deep state needs to be crushed now. Let's get this over with and bring Dr. Greer in. So essentially, they've taken a provably fake story from Dr. Greer. Remember, he claimed that he briefed President Trump and Vice President Pence. We fact-checked that and found that to be completely false. Greer later backpedaled and claimed, oh, no, I didn't brief him in person. I sent a briefing, which means he sent a letter to the White House. So now they're involving Schratt in the dissemination of a completely and totally fake story in this comic book. And I looked on Amazon. Nowhere in the comic book does it say this comic book is fiction, so I don't know. But they admit, oh, parts of it are fiction, parts of it are based on real events and all this nonsense. But it's really sad that they're using Michael Schratt in a goddamn comic book to co-sign a complete and totally fabricated fake story that Dr. Greer got caught telling lies, claiming that he briefed President Trump and Vice President Pence. That's not true. We checked. Neither of those two individuals either requested a briefing from Stephen Greer or got a briefing from Stephen Greer. And in fact, both of those men's media reps said they don't even know who he is. So, but now that complete and total lie is in a comic book and Michael Schratt is co-signing it. So I feel sad about that. Yeah. Internet killed the TV says, hello, I have not got an email from you. I was not pulling your strings. You know, one real problem I have is that people have one chat room user ID, then they message me on Facebook with another name, then they send me an email with another name. I don't even know who you are. I don't know if you sent me an email and expected a reply. I'm sorry if I didn't reply, right? Steve Long says, yeah, that was my favorite Schratt presentation too. Yeah, legend, man. It was great. He should just do that stuff, you know? Steve Long says, yep, if you want to be a part of the club, you got to play nice. That's why I like Steven. He's not looking to be in the club. It's a big club, Steve Long, and I always say it. I ain't in it. It's a big club, and I ain't in it. That's why I can tell people the truth and not give a shit, right? Yeah, I don't know what you emailed me. Maybe you better email me again, right? Are you the guy from Hawaii? Maybe you're the guy from Hawaii. You know, the problem is that people send me too much stuff. Daniel Foster says, I like Steven because he's a musician and he likes wearing headphones. I have a pair of planar headphones, electrostatic or planars for me, baby. I like those big old headphones with the 1/4-inch jack. Those are my favorite. These are just some, I got like a bunch of Five Below headphones in a box over there because I always like put them down on the ground here and I step on them behind my desk and break them. So I don't use very good headphones. I'm thinking about going to Bluetooth earbuds though, but I don't think so. I mean, it's less, it looks better if you just got little black earbuds in instead of this big honking headset. But yeah, thank you, Daniel Foster. I appreciate that. There are many too afraid. Self-disconnected reports. He has his sidekick, Colonel Sallet, with him. The U.S. will be fine. Oh, you were the guy on the panel show. Yeah, send me an email again. Yeah, I remember. You were the guy on the panel show then. Okay. Send me another email. Rotary Motion says, not in the club, family man. I follow you for some reason. You know, there's a lot of us that aren't in the club, right? Only some of us, in order to get access to that sweet, sweet grifting money, you got to be willing to lie to people. And if I ever get there, I hope somebody does something, you know? I hope to have a grift intervention, right? If I ever just go full grift mode, that some of my, you know, close friends and supporters will do something about that. We want to thank Steve Long for a kind and generous $9.99 super chat, longtime show supporter and popular guest here. Many kudos and props to Stephen for his years of diligence and reliable scrutiny. We're lucky to have people like him helping to steward this topic and provide good info, however long they're here for. Yeah, you know, things change, Steve Long. I could just wake up one day and say, I'm not going to do this anymore. So I appreciate that sentiment, and I agree with you. You have to appreciate the people that you appreciate when they're, you know, here. But thank you for appreciating us, and we certainly appreciate you for helping us to praise the cat.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
All right, and on that wonderful note, it's like music to my ears here in the Cash Clown, because that means there's some, you know, support coming in. So we thank you all for your kindness, generosity, and support. I'm going to bounce on out of here, but like I said, we'll be back tomorrow night with a completely and totally free documentary. And I got to tell you, when you see the methodical way in which all of these hoaxes and the layers of deception that the hoaxers use to create those hoaxes comes crashing down, oh, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful documentary. Do you like gotcha moments where grifters and scammers and hoaxers get that gotcha moment, like, gotcha, bitch? Then this is the documentary for you. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be here in the live chat. Hope you'll be here with me. So what else can I say? That's all I got for you, friends. But I will be in the live chat tomorrow night. I'd really appreciate your support. Please share that out on your social media. It really does help. I'll be in the live chat. I may be a little bit late. It depends. Sometimes I get in my car to go to the cabin, and it takes an hour and 55 minutes. And then sometimes it takes 3 hours because I'm on a lot of backcountry roads and 2-lane little highways. So when there's like an accident, you're in a 45-minute backup. It's terrible. But I'll do my best to get there on time. I will be in the live chat at some point. Hopefully by 9 p.m. I'll get there. But you never know. It's a bit of a rush. But I do have my car preloaded. I finished all my errands. You know what I hate? I hate going to the cabin, but before I go to the cabin, I have to stop at Home Depot. You know, I may have to stop at the grocery store. I may have to stop at the gas station. I hate that. So I preloaded, and today I did all that. So tomorrow it's a straight shot right to the cabin. So there's a high likelihood, unless there's some big traffic thing, I'll be in the live chat at 9 p.m. on time. But if not, we'll have some mods in there, and I appreciate their help and support. I'll be there as soon as possible. So that's all we got for you, friends. I guess to wrap things up, what I would really say is that the grift game has changed now. And I think it's going to be a lot more difficult for these people to make all these completely and totally evidence-free false claims and profit from them. Maybe this will raise the grift game. People are going to have to start manufacturing fake evidence. Maybe we'll get some Billy Meyer type trash can UFO photos and videos or something. They're going to need some evidence now. Even if it's fake evidence, they're going to need something. They can't just make evidence-free, you know, fake claims and make the money anymore. I think that the whole landscape is changing. And also, with these false narratives coming crashing down, you know, some people are never going to believe it, no matter what you know, they're just never going to believe that the government is actually telling the truth, strange as that may seem. You know, they're never going to believe that the Grift Squad is wrong. No matter how many times the Grift Squad gets caught selling completely and totally fake stories, there's going to be some people that just want so desperately to believe this stuff, they will never believe it's not true. But things like this Arrow report and Kirkpatrick pushing back against this completely and totally false narrative, it does reach some people. I'm seeing people that I would never believe, like, what is this guy Jay from Project Unity? He's a huge part of the problem with all this fake information and disinformation, but even he is saying Lou Elizondo never ran a Pentagon program called ATIP. Amazing. So some people, this will affect, and some people who are maybe on the fence, they're going to start digging deeper. They're going to start questioning the Grift Squad members now and expecting evidence. Expect evidence. Demand it. Demand evidence. That's the best way to combat these, UFO scumbag, lying, profiteering grifters. Demand evidence, because largely they don't have any. Then you'll be able to know right away that they're a profiteering whore, UFO scumbag, and not waste your time or energy on them. So what else can I say, friends? That's all I got for you. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.
We grifters, 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 we grifters.
Shape the emerging UAP narrative. Remember those words, folks. Shape the emerging UAP narrative. Remember those words, folks.
I'm an intel guy. 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 I'm an intel guy.
We grifters, 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 we grifters.
Multiple whistleblowers.
Luis Elizondo.
Multiple whistleblowers.
Luis Elizondo.
Multiple whistleblowers.
Luis Elizondo.
Multiple whistleblowers.
Luis Elizondo.
We grifters, we grifters.
Remember those words.
We grifters, we grifters.
Remember those words.
We grifters, we grifters.
Say yes.
We grifters, we grifters.
Say yes.
We grifters, we grifters.
Say yes.
We grifters, we grifters.
Say yes. Say yes.
Luis Elizondo.
Say yes.
Luis Elizondo.
Say yes.
Luis Elizondo.
Say yes.
Luis Elizondo. 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 Luis Elizondo.
What if some of that shit is so big? What if some of that shit is so big it can't be moved? Big, big, it can't be moved. Big, big. What if some of that shit is so big? What if some of that shit is so big it can't be moved? Big, big, it can't be moved. Big, 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 big. In a country outside of the United States of America. Big. In a country outside of the United States of America. In a country outside of the United States of America. Big. In a country outside of the United States of America. Big. 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 They're too bloody big. They're too bloody big. So they're too bloody big. They're too bloody big. They're too bloody big. They're too bloody big. So they're too bloody big. They're too bloody big. I know exactly where it is. I know exactly where it is. But it was bollocks big, 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 big. But it was bollocks big, 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 big.
Bobby Loeb, Kevin Knuth, Gary Nolan, Jacques Villay. Bobby Loeb, Kevin Knuth, Gary Nolan, Jacques Villay.
Disclosure process? Absolutely. Disclosure process? Absolutely. Disclosure process? Absolutely. Disclosure process? Absolutely.
Diana Pasoka, Hal Puda. Diana Pasoka, Hal Puda. Diana Pasoka, Hal Puda. Diana Pasoka, Hal Puda.
Disclosure process? Absolutely. Disclosure process? Absolutely. Disclosure process? Absolutely. Disclosure process? Absolutely. This is not a joke. Like none of this was a joke. This is not a joke. A joke. This is not a joke. Like none of this was a joke. This is not a joke. A joke. Entertainment. 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 Entertainment.
What is catastrophic disclosure of catastrophic disclosure? And don't forget, what is catastrophic disclosure of catastrophic disclosure? And don't forget,
controlled disclosure
of catastrophic,
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 controlled disclosure
of catastrophic, societal disruption,
catastrophic disclosure
catastrophic
disclosure
societal disruption,
catastrophic disclosure
catastrophic
disclosure
Catastrophic disclosure, 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 catastrophic disclosure.
Psychological, theological, and psychological, philosophical, and theological, and psychological, theological, and psychological, philosophical, and theological, and psychological, theological, and psychological, philosophical, and theological, and psychological, theological.